Fake HOA towed a military truck didn't know it belonged to FEMA. Have you ever seen someone's ego ignite a neighborhood war they couldn't win? In the quiet cul-de-sac of Pinewood Estates, a self-appointed HOA queen named Karen unleashed chaos that would unravel her reign in spectacular fashion. It all started with a FEMA military truck parked in a driveway, a vehicle that didn't fit her vision of a pristine community. What she didn't know was that her impulsive power grab would pit her against a federal agency, a Marine veteran, and a neighborhood ready to fight back. Karen, the HOA president, had ruled Pinewood Estates with an iron clipboard for years. Her obsession with curb appeal bordered on tyrannical mailboxes had to be regulation navy blue, lawns mowed to exactly 2.5 inches, and any vehicle deemed unsightly was slapped with a violation notice faster than you could say. Community standards. Residents grumbled but complied, fearing her wrath and the fines she wielded like a scepter. When Hurricane Lila tore through the region, leaving flooded streets and shattered homes, Pinewood Estates was spared the worst, but recovery efforts brought a new presence, a FEMA military truck parked in the driveway of Jake Turner, a Marine veteran who'd returned to help his storm-ravaged community. Jake, a reservist and FEMA contractor, had been deployed to coordinate relief efforts. His truck, a hulking beast with reinforced tires and official decals, was a lifeline for delivering supplies to stranded families. But to Karen, it was an eyesore, a monstrosity that clashed with her vision of suburban perfection. She didn't bother to check the decals or ask questions. Instead, she saw a chance to flex her authority. Late one evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Karen called her go-to-tow company, Fast Hook Towing, and demanded the truck be removed immediately. "It's probably abandoned," she scoffed to the driver, ignoring the FEMA markings glowing under her flashlight. The tow truck roared in, hooked the vehicle, and dragged it away, leaving deep ruts in Jake's pristine lawn, a visual testament to her overreach. The next morning, Jake returned from a 12-hour shift distributing water and blankets to find his driveway empty and his lawn destroyed. His security camera footage revealed the tow truck's midnight raid, with Karen's silhouette barking orders. Furious but calm, Jake called Fast Hook, only to learn the truck was impounded and accruing $200 daily storage fees. Expired registration, the tow company claimed, parroting Karen's excuse. But Jake knew better. His truck was federally registered, exempt from local rules. He contacted his FEMA supervisor, who escalated the issue to regional headquarters. The truth began to emerge. Karen's HOA wasn't even legitimate. Pinewood Estates had no registered HOA. Karen had been running a rogue operation, collecting dues and issuing fines without legal authority. This wasn't just a towing scandal, it was fraud. Enter Maria, Jake's neighbor and a paralegal with a knack for digging up dirt. Maria had long suspected Karen's HOA was a sham. Having noticed inconsistencies in the bylaws, Karen emailed residents. While Jake worked with FEMA to retrieve his truck, Maria pored over county records and uncovered a bombshell. The HOA had been dissolved a decade ago after a bankruptcy filing. Karen had resurrected it without legal standing, using intimidation to enforce her rules. Maria's discovery was the twist that turned the tide. She rallied the neighbors, sharing her findings in a group chat that buzzed with outrage. "We've been paying her for years," one resident texted. "She fined me $500 for a basketball hoop," another fumed. The neighborhood's resentment, long simmering, boiled over. The confrontation came at the next HOA meeting, which Karen had called to discuss community beautification. Unbeknownst to her, Maria had tipped off the local sheriff's department and FEMA's legal team. As Karen stood at her podium, lecturing about mailbox uniformity, Jake walked in, flanked by two FEMA officials in crisp uniforms and Sheriff Daniels, badge gleaming. The room fell silent. Jake held up his phone, playing the security footage of Karen ordering the tow. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "You towed a federal emergency vehicle," Jake said, his voice steady but laced with steel. "You damaged my property and endangered relief efforts. Care to explain?" Karen's face drained of color. She stammered, claiming she thought the truck was abandoned and a safety hazard. The FEMA officials weren't buying it. They presented documents proving the truck's federal status and cited violations of the Stafford Act, which protects disaster relief operations. Sheriff Daniels added that Karen's fake HOA was under investigation for fraud and extortion. The neighbors, now emboldened, began shouting questions. "Where's our money?" one demanded. "Why'd you tow my car last year?" another yelled. Karen's authority crumbled as her lies were exposed. The meeting turned into a public reckoning, with residents airing years of grievances, fines for minor infractions, threats of liens, even a doghouse deemed non-compliant. Then came the unexpected ally, Tom, the fast-hook tow driver who'd been quietly sitting in the back. Guilt-ridden, he stood up and admitted Karen had pressured him into towing vehicles without proper authorization, promising him a cut of the fines. She said it was all legal, he muttered, avoiding her glare. His confession sealed Karen's fate. The sheriff served her with a notice to appear in court, and FEMA filed a formal complaint for interfering with federal operations. The tow company, facing its own legal heat, agreed to release Jake's truck without fees and cover the cost of his lawn repairs. Karen's reign was over, her clipboard empire reduced to rubble. In the weeks that followed, the neighborhood transformed. Maria organized a legitimate community council, transparent and resident-led, to replace Karen's sham HOA. Jake's truck returned to its relief missions, now parked proudly in his driveway without fear of towing. Karen, stripped of her self-appointed title, faced mounting legal battles, civil suits from neighbors, criminal charges for fraud, and a hefty fine from FEMA for disrupting disaster relief. Her once manicured lawn sprouted "for sale" signs as she fled the community she'd terrorized. The neighbors, once divided by her rules, united to rebuild, sharing resources and stories of resilience. Jake, ever the Marine, led a volunteer cleanup crew, turning Pinewood Estates into a beacon of hope amidst the storm's aftermath. This saga of Karen's downfall reminds us that power, when unchecked, can blind even the most self-righteous to the consequences of their actions. But it also shows the strength of a community that stands together against injustice. What system you think was Karen's overreach just a mistake, or was it a deliberate abuse of power? Share your thoughts on where the line lies between enforcing rules and crossing into tyranny.